with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man that go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queens.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, given to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
Right. Hello, everyone. I almost forgot to add myself to the stream. All right. So, hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake up call. So, as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so also don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving those notifications, because y'all know how they be hating on the poor little old queen. Okay, so we have a lot to cover this morning, and it's all interesting and clearly nefarious. And so I think I'm going to have to start these lives a little bit earlier. Yeah, because of all the information that I want to get out. Okay, so with that all being said, hello, Claudette, 504 Nola, Lillian X, DJ Big Six. All right, let's get ready to get black into it. Everybody hit that like button. Okay, Red Wine Entertainment, Andrea. Let's get into it. Neuro Hustle, Buckhorst DC. All right. Shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. I see you, we the people, Dark Tube. Okay, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Hey, Danielle, beloved, Deronda. All right, Bronze Flat Power God is in the virtual building. Ashkan is here. All right, let's get it. And so with that all being said, without further ado, let's have a brief word from my sponsor so we can get this party started. I see you, Millicent, beloved. All right, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so if you guys remember yesterday when I reported to you that Trump has charged the U.S. Southern Poverty Law Center with fraud over use of paid informants, right? That's what you ought to pay attention because here's the thing. So you mean to tell me that they're punishing people for exposing the Klan? Is that what that is? Because that's what it sounds like. Once I thought about it, I said, I don't think I really listened to that report yesterday, okay, as thoroughly as I should. But when I went back and was reading up on it, I said, wait a minute. So it looks like they're going in on people and trying to punish people for exposing wanton supremacy groups. Okay, because the only reason these people are being charged with fraud is because they're claiming that they didn't tell the donors who gave funds to them that they were going to be using this to go after these extremist groups, such as the Klan and the Yahtzees, okay? The neo-Yahtzees. So with that all being said, I find it all interesting. So it looks like Trump wants to preserve and save and fight hard in the paint for wanton supremacy. Okay, please pay attention to those of you who are Black MAGA. I'm sure there's none of you in my chat. You wouldn't dare, now would you? Okay, but where's Black MAGA at right now? What do they have to say? I find it all interesting. But what I find even more interesting is that there are two more dead scientists. Okay, two more dead scientists, guys. Please pay attention. What is going on here? Now, the FBI is talking about they're going to be doing an investigation into it. I think they already know the answer. I think they know exactly what's going on with these people. All right, I find it very interesting. We're going to get into that. But before we do, let's talk about how the Navy chief has quit. All right, the Navy chief has quit right in the midst of a whole war. You know, it looks like this administration is falling apart at the seams. It looks like the whole thing is just crumbling, okay, in my opinion. So let's go to this report. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. And supposedly, this man quit because he was continuously bumping heads with none other than Keg's breath, which doesn't surprise me because haven't people said before that he's problematic in the workplace? You know, puts out a toxic environment. And I'm sure that because he's Trump's lapdog, one of the biggest, that he probably thinks that he can just do and say whatever he wants and talk to people crazy. But real men are not going to put up with BS. Okay, I'll bet you that's why he had it in for this man. Okay, so let's go to the report from CNN. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
U.S. Navy is out as Trump's war with Iran enters day 54. The surprise announcement coming just moments ago from the Pentagon. Multiple sources telling CNN that there were tensions for months between John Phelan and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Phelan was then told at this moment during the war, resign or be fired. And I mentioned during the war. I mean, this is a major move at a shocking time. This is the Secretary of the Navy, and the U.S. Navy right now has 15 ships in the Middle East, with most enforcing the biggest blockade by the United States since World War II. Phelan's sudden departure coming as it comes as we have new video tonight from Iranian state media purportedly showing soldiers seizing container ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Kristen, what are you learning? Obviously.
Hold on. I have to address the irony of Ashkan's comment. Says low-key, Black MAGA would mean sending almost everyone back to Europe. Now, you have such a good point there, okay? That is a good one. Because think about it. If all of the Black people were really MAGA, which means make America great again, that's absolutely what that would mean. Okay, please pay attention. Great again. You'd have to go so far back. Absolutely, beloved. Thank you for that laugh. Okay, let's continue.
As we said, you think about the scale of this blockade and what the United States Navy is doing right now. Suddenly, the Secretary of the Navy out with a resign or be fired.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously not good for the Secretary of the Navy. And we're learning some new reporting. You mentioned some of this, which is this idea that there was tension between Pete Hegseth and Phelan. A lot of it stemming from Hegseth wanting him to be quicker, thinking it was too slow on ship reform. But there's another part of this that I think is key. And this is what is always key in a Trump White House, which is proximity to power. And the reason being that Hegseth was annoyed by Phelan because Phelan would go directly to President Trump. Now, remember this. Phelan was not somebody with military experience. He was a donor. He and his wife had raised millions of dollars for President Trump. He had a personal relationship with President Trump. And in Trump's White House, the even the top branches of government, the top cabinet officials know that the closer you are in the direct line to Donald Trump, that gives you all of the power. So Hegseth felt like Phelan was going around him, having these direct conversations with President Trump. Now, we're still not entirely sure what option that Phelan went with, whether he resigned or was fired. But of course, we know now he was ousted after these personal tensions amid this ongoing war where the Navy is a central component.
I mean, it is obviously incredible timing. Kristen, thank you very much. Everyone is here with me. General Mark Schwartz, let me just start with you because you spent so much of your military career in the Middle East with special forces. So, the context of this, Phelan out, all this with a resign or be fired, as the reporting is, suddenly in the midst of this massive blockade, at least 15 ships involved in it. I mean, what is the impact of something like that at the Secretary of the Navy at a moment like this?
Well, I think the impact is greater from, an outsider's view of, like you said, the Navy secretary being removed during a time of war. Down at the CENTCOM level and certainly below that in terms of operations day to day in the Gulf and the CENTCOM area of responsibility, not as big of an impact. But I think the optic, certainly for our enemies, Iran, seeing this, just like they saw the ousting of the Army Chief of Staff a couple of weeks ago, I think has an impact in terms of there's some instability inside of the department.
Laura, you've covered Iran for more than 20 years. Obviously, you're senior editor at The Atlantic. When the general talks about how this lands in Tehran, when they look at something like this, what is the significance of that? Someone who's at the top of the U.S. Navy, the optics of that being out.
Yeah, it's not a great look, especially not at a time when there's sort of so much confusion about what the U.S. objectives seem to be and where its red lines lie in advance of these negotiations. It does project a bit of chaos.
Brett, as you've been involved with negotiations with Iran during both the Obama and Biden administrations, and you've been in the rooms where the negotiations happen, what do you think the impact of something like this is? Obviously there is a bit of an irony, right, in the fact that we're being told no one knows who's running things in Tehran when the U.S. is doing things like just kicking out its Secretary of the Navy in the midst of the biggest blockade in 70 years.
Yeah, and I agree with Mark. It's not going to affect, I think, the operational element of the blockade. But what the U.S. is trying to project right now to Iran is that we're settling into a steady state of economic pressure, mounting economic pressure. We're going to have this blockade in place. We got 3 carrier strike groups. We're settling in. So to have your Navy secretary ousted or resigning right as that's happening does not, I think, it doesn't send a signal of confidence. And Iran will read it. They're looking for any indication that they can wiggle out of this. And they'll read it as kind of an opening, and maybe the administration is not as cohesive. One thing that might be happening behind the scenes, I mean, the Navy secretary is focused, Aaron, on force management, global force management. And I'm sure there is a debate in the administration as we have this massive resource focus on the Middle East that affects readiness in other parts of the globe. That's probably part of the debate, might be part of it, but we don't know.
Tone.
Now, with that all being said, the bottom line is, I want you all to pay attention. Now, it was very stupid for them to get rid of the Navy chief, especially at this specific time. But here's the thing. Iran already knows that the U.S. is grasping at straws. This is why Trump's telling all these lies, trying to pretend that the war is going in the opposite direction of what what the news has been saying, at least the international news. Okay, calling everything fake news when they tell the truth. Furthermore, I could have sworn, somebody let me know if I'm wrong, but didn't in fact Trump say that they had completely obliterated their Navy, that their Navy is gone? Isn't that what he said? Well, I want to know, who in the hell are these people climbing aboard this ship with masks and guns? Because Trump told all of us weeks ago that their Navy was done with, that it was a wrap, okay? I mean, he talked like they were at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea or something. But let's just go to the footage because, like I said, I find it interesting because who are these masked men with all these guns getting on the ship and completely taking over? I mean, when I woke up this morning and clicked on the computer, that's the first thing that I saw. I thought that I was watching a movie for a second. Okay? Trump with all of his nefarious lies, they just keep coming apart at the seams.
This morning, dramatic video aired by state TV shows Iranian forces seizing 2 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Masked soldiers climbing the deck, searching this ship, long guns at the ready. These scenes playing out one day after President Trump extended his ceasefire with Iran indefinitely.
I think what we're seeing from the regime, it feels emboldened by this indefinite extension. It feels it can just wait out President Trump while the damage ramps up to the world economy. And if you look historically, it's managed to sustain the economic impact of severe sanctions for many years, and is likely to do so once again.
The White House downplaying Iran's actions, saying the seizure of those ships does not violate the ceasefire.
These were not U.S. ships. These were not Israeli ships. These were 2 international vessels.
Cargo ships and oil tankers are now waiting just outside the Strait of Hormuz, unable to pass in the face of Iran's threats. An officer on one tanker tells us they won't move without safety guarantees.
I honestly cannot say what is worse. If it's the standing by here, waiting and hoping not to get hit, or the uncertainty of not knowing if the strait is open or closed.
According to the Washington Post, the Pentagon has suggested it could take 6 months to clear mines from the strait. Analysts already calling this the biggest energy crisis in history. And now, in the midst of this naval conflict, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired the Secretary of the Navy without explanation. There had reportedly been tension with Hegseth in recent months. Meanwhile, despite repeated assurances from President Trump that Iran's military force has been depleted, the head of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency says Iran retains thousands of missiles and one-way attack drones that can threaten U.S. and partner forces throughout the region. Another sign of uncertainty, with peace talks stalled and the world watching.
And Iran has suggested that it will not return to the negotiating table until that U.S. blockade on Iranian ports is lifted. President Trump says that blockade scares Iran more than the bombing.
Donna just discovered that on Vinted, she can easily earn extra cash.
Sorry. Now, they can sit there and lie all they want, but if you ask me, nothing scares Iran. Okay, they seem very defiant all the way to the end. It doesn't seem like anything scares them, but hold on, because I want to go to this next clip, which is much more dramatic. And it looks like they're putting out some different numbers about the casualties, which I'll get to momentarily, but it's all still lies. Another thing is, let's just talk about it for a second, because they say that absolutely it may take up to 6 months to open the Hormuz, which I thought was already open, mind you, open and blocked at the same time. Okay, but they say it won't be open until the war is over and a peace treaty is signed. And then also let me just mention that the U.S. stockpile of key missiles are being depleted. Experts have said that the reduction is so very severe that they would likely, the U.S. that is, would likely run out if they had a conflict, or should a conflict arise, another conflict arise in the next few years. Well, you know, that's scary, because remember, Iran said they could keep going at this for 10 years at least. So this is not good for them. And I don't know how Trump thinks that we're supposed to sit here and be foolish enough to believe that we're actually winning this whole war, because we're literally losing, pathetically, mind you. And the fact that they're putting out a blockade on the Hormuz just shows an act of desperation. Okay, that's what it should be called, epic desperation, not epic fury. Okay, but let's continue. Did y'all see that? Let me tell you something. Now, right there, that right there, let me tell you something. If I had been aboard that ship and looked out there and saw them getting on there like that, I would have just started snitching on everybody. Okay, I'd have been telling them where everything was. Oh, come this way. Y'all looking for this. It's right here. Okay, I'd have been telling them everything, honey. I'd have been straight snitching. Please miss me with it. It's all nefarious. Hart Kunai said Western civilization and ideological bias is over. Okay, it should be. Kiki said Babylon is falling. It looks like it. Did y'all see that? I'm sorry, but that was absolutely gangster, in my opinion. Okay, I don't care what anyone says, including nefarious. Now, let's continue. Because, honey, I wouldn't want any parts of it. Okay, I wouldn't want any parts. I'd have been giving up names and everything. D major scaling, G from the land, that crazy bitch Aries, bronze flat power god, Ashcon, they all did it. And they put me up to it. The nefarious royals put me up to it, y'all. Let me go and I'll tell you everything you want to know about all of them. Because what in the world? I'm so through. Neural Hustle said, that ain't right, Queen. No, I wouldn't snitch on y'all, but I would probably jump overboard, to say the least. And mind you, I can't even swim, okay? Now, let's continue. Now, listen, here's the release of the supposed death toll. Now, you all tell me if you believe it or not, okay? This is what they're saying. This is their lie, and they're sticking to it. This is all crazy. Dorada said, dang, Queen, all the royals going down. Y'all know I'm teasing. Now, look. Please pay attention. They're still at 13, wounded 415, 19 Marines, 62 Air Force, 63 Navy, and 271 in the Army. The lies. Okay, the lies. They're still not willing to come clean. Quiet Storm said, I heard 100 soldiers died. Can't confirm that. Let me tell you something, beloved. I believe it's way more than 100 because on March the 6th, which was about a week into the war, because it started February the 28th, there were reports coming from international news sources on TikTok that were saying it was already over 650. Now, this is within a week. Now, I can't substantiate it. Okay, you said you mean 1,000. Well, that's probably more close to it, beloved. And it could even be more than that. You know, it's real crazy. It could even be more than that because let's not forget how they took out those U.S. military bases over there in the Gulf states. And I know there were soldiers in there. You know, they can't expect us to believe that they were empty. They took out like 13 of them right off the bat. So anyway, with that all been said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, here's Trump talking about Iran's desperate and they need cash. Trump will just say anything. And he just makes it up as he goes very often, in my opinion. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. That crazy bitch Aries said, Queen, you're the best. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you.
He's the one keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed. He posted on social media, Iran is collapsing financially. They want the Strait of Hormuz opened immediately, starving for cash, losing $500 million a day. Military and police complaining that they are not getting paid. SOS. Kenneth Braithwaite is with us now. He served as Secretary of the Navy during the first Trump administration. Thank you so much.
Now, I want you all to pay attention because this guy served as the chief of the Navy or whatever during the first Trump administration. So he is pro-Trump. But I want you to listen to the lies that he sits here and tells. Okay, and also the nerve of Trump to say that they're strapped for cash and desperate when that's exactly what his citizens are. Okay, with everything going up sky high. We're in economic decline, but he wants to talk about their money. At the end of the day, I don't think that this has even remotely stopped them from doing anything. This has not caused them any area or any amount of difficulty. It's just a nuisance to them, if anything, but they're not losing jack. And the other day, didn't Iranian ships just go right on past the blockade? Like, Trump, sit down somewhere.
So much for being with us to talk about
Always a pleasure, Brianna.
This critical time that we're looking at here. And in the middle of the ceasefire extension, Iran has seized these 2 ships in the Strait. A Greek-linked cargo ship was also attacked. How are you looking at Iran's actions here?
Well, again, I think they're desperate. The blockade's working. I mean, we have the most formidable naval armada that we've ever put together in decades there. We have 3 carrier strike groups. We have 2 amphibious readiness groups. There's over 10 destroyers there. I mean, the firepower that's been amassed there by the U.S. Navy is unprecedented. So I think they're just grasping for straws.
I wonder what this does tell you, though, about the status of Iran's Navy, because obviously completely making it non-operational is one of the stated objectives of this administration, and they have championed that they've been able to do that. But then you look at what's happened here and the capabilities. How much capability does it take to do something like this?
So there's actually 2 navies, Brianna. There's the Iranian Navy, which was decimated, as the president indicated, in some of the initial strikes. So a navy, as we know it, doesn't exist anymore. But what Iran has is the Guards Navy. These are the small, commercially acquired, high-speed boats with, different weapons on board that are close in. And enough of those are swarmed together. It makes a real challenge. There is quality and quantity. And so that's what we're up against now with these small Guards Navy craft.
But nonetheless, Trump said he got rid of their navies. Okay, please miss us with it. And just go ahead and say it. Trump lied as usual. Okay? And whether he thinks their navy is small or not, we all see what they're doing. All right? We all see what they're doing. So please pay attention.
That sort of drives home the asymmetric nature that the U.S. is facing here.
Absolutely.
So does it matter then, in a way, if you have the big war? Yes, it's such a huge, I think, when it comes to the narrative to see these pictures of big warships that are destroyed. But when you're looking at what even these small vessels can do armed with the right weapons, does it take away from what the Trump administration has said they've accomplished thus far?
I don't think so. But remember, the theater of operations matters, right? You and I both know how narrow the Strait is. The channel that goes through there is only 2 miles wide. I mean, the Iranians can stand off up to 1,000 kilometers and be able to target that with Chinese-provided anti-ship missiles. Then on top of that, you have the Guards Navy and the asymmetrical aspect that you just alluded to, and then you have mines that are put in the water. I mean, it is a very constrained.
Excuse me, beloveds. Hold on. I have a question. Now, did he just say that it was like 2 miles wide that they had to go through? Let me roll it back because I need to hear exactly what he said. And then he said theater, the theater of operations. Yeah, well, that's what Trump does, political theater.
From what the Trump administration has said they've accomplished thus far?
I don't think so. But remember, the theater of operations matters, right? You and I both know how narrow the Strait is. The channel that goes through there is only 2 miles wide. I mean, the Iranians can stand off up to 1,000 kilometers and be able to target that with Chinese-provided anti-ship missiles. Then on top of that, you have the Guards Navy and the asymmetrical aspect that you just alluded to, and then you have mines that are put in the water. I mean, it is a very constrained area to operate in. You could have the greatest Navy, which we do in the world, and still be up against some of these challenges just because of the environment in which you're operating.
The ceasefire extension that the president agreed to last night does not have a specified end date. And I wonder how much you think that matters.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys, Nina just built an app.
I think it does matter. I think, to really do what we need to do there, which is to seize the enriched uranium, that's our strategic objective. To do that, we'd have to put boots on the ground. And I think every military leader, all that I've spoken to, many that you've had on this show, that's untenable for America to wrap their arms around, right? I don't think there's the support for that in the United States. So therefore, the president needs this time in order to be able to get to a deal. I'm just hoping that that deal includes making sure that the enriched uranium is ours. And of course, it has to open the strait.
The fractured.
Here's my thing. What makes the U.S. think that they're supposed to have Iran's enriched uranium? What makes them think that they're entitled to that? That's my question. Okay, what makes them think that they're entitled to it? I have several questions. Okay, with that all being said, let's go to this clip because this was live this morning. Okay, U.S.-Iran war live. Iran attacks U.S. Navy vessels despite Trump's ceasefire extension. So they attacked U.S. Navy vessels, but I thought they had no Navy, Trump. What the hell's going on here?
Re-election in November as we have our midterm elections this year. So this is why one of the main reasons why I think Trump wanted to extend this ceasefire. It's very clear that Iran has been able to leverage its geography and really put the global economy in a stranglehold. And it doesn't seem as if the Trump administration is able to find a quick fix to this problem. And this is the mess that the Trump administration finds itself in. Obviously, the Strait of Hormuz, among other issues, will remain a very sensitive sticking point between the United States and Iran. Right now, we find ourselves in sort of a no war, no peace situation, but this is really just a pause to a war that has not resolved. And I think this truce or this pause in fighting could collapse at any moment and hostilities could resume, even if the United States does not, the Trump administration more specifically, does not want that to happen. This is, as one analyst on Al Jazeera put it so well, really the fog of peace.
What will resolve this war, Giorgio? Because Donald Trump has been claiming that we will have a deal very soon. Would that deal be better than what Barack Obama got under the JCPOA, or would it be something that would be a minor change in that very deal, but Trump will portray it as a big victory and get out of this war ASAP?
I think the second one that you mentioned would be more realistic. I do think that the United States and Iran could reach a deal, but that would definitely require the United States to show some flexibility on the issue of Iran's nuclear program. I think Iran would be willing to sign a new deal in which its nuclear activity is more restricted than the restrictions that the 2015 JCPOA imposed on Tehran's nuclear program. But Iran is not going to accept a deal that requires the country to commit to zero enrichment of uranium. As Iran sees it, the rights to enrich uranium in line with the NPT is very important to Iran's sovereignty and its rights as an independent country and an NPT signatory. So I think that this is one of the, yes?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Oh, yes. So I do think a deal is possible, but if the Trump administration is going to continue trying to impose the maximalist Israeli stance that says a deal requires zero enrichment on Iran's part, then I do not see us getting to a deal. But again, if the Trump administration can show a little bit of flexibility on that front, I think there would be more reason to be optimistic about Washington and Tehran reaching some sort of a deal at some point.
All right, let's wait and see how this moves forward. Giorgio, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on Beyond and sharing your perspective.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Iran's Revolutionary Guards have threatened to end oil production in West Asia if the Islamic Republic faced attacks from its Gulf neighbors' territory. The threat comes as the 14-day ceasefire deadline approached and before Trump announced an extension. Fars News Agency quoted the commander of the Revolutionary Guards Aerospace Force as saying, the southern neighbors should know that if their geography and facilities are used in the service of the enemies to attack In the 40-day war, the Gulf countries found themselves. Iran initially responded by targeting U.S. military bases, facilities, and personnel in these countries, but later widened the targets to energy facilities and population centers. In the message, he also praised the people of Iran for supporting forces on the ground. He went on to say, I'm quoting, "From now on, if the enemy so much as twitches and dares to encroach on our sacred soil, we will strike wherever you say," quote unquote. Overnight, Iranians held pro-military rallies in Tehran, where the Revolutionary Guards were also seen displaying ballistic missiles. Footage aired by the Iranian state television showed men carrying the assault rifles on a missile that resembled a Kadur ballistic missile in the Iranian capital.
Okay, so let's go to this next report. They say that Trump's taking credit. They say that Trump's taking credit for the 8 women who were supposed to be executed in Iran, and he's saying that they're not going to execute them thanks to him. Okay, so let's go to the footage. This is a Fox News report. Okay, so let's go to it because I don't believe anything Fox says. Trump's probably not responsible for any darn thing. We'll go to Fox first and then go to the next report from another source.
The top good news after President Trump called on Iran to release 8 women set to be executed for protesting today. All 8 will be spared death, 4 immediately released from prison, and the other 4 sentenced to 1 month in jail. Anyway, here with more, retired Navy captain, Heritage founder, senior fellow Brent Sadler is with us. Brent, well, maybe, thank God for small victories, but some of these girls were 16 years old.
No, absolutely. It's just another symbol of, or an example of how barbaric and brutal this regime is. Their only objective and concern in Tehran, the IRGC, is the continuation of their authority and power. And I think that's the key metric. If it assures them continued power in their country, no matter what the cost to their people and their country, they'll take that in order to stay in power.
Yeah, Brett, I'm looking at this and I understand what the Pakistani prime minister has been telling the president. He's saying, Mr. President, I know this, as absurd as it sounds in this day and age of communication, the idea that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps can communicate with the people that have been negotiating in Islamabad, and that would be an easy task. Actually, it's not an easy task. One, I would argue they probably fear picking up a phone. Number 2, I'm not even sure if they get a cell phone connection to begin with. So my understanding is, and my sources have told me, they're actually doing it through courier. Have you heard the same?
No, that would make sense. I do think there's quite a lot of channels that they could use, even in Tehran. They could go through third-party embassies to deliver messages quicker as well. If there's a will, there's a way. Even with the risk, again, if the risk is high, but the reward, getting a deal that ensures that they stay in power, they'll go for it. And thankfully, that doesn't appear to be on the table, but comms, or at least communications, getting through.
Okay, let's go to the next clip. Trump's always trying to take credit for something that he had absolutely nothing to do with. Okay, he's such a liar. Please pay attention. So let's go to hold on. In a Truth Social post, Trump revealed, hold on. In a Truth Social post, Trump has announced that the ruthless Iranian regime will no longer execute 8 women. Okay, Trump revealed the women will no longer be killed, with 4 to be released immediately after the other 4 will serve 1 month in prison. President Trump claimed Iran's decision not to execute the 8 women followed his request on Tuesdays. Iran's Judiciary Committee asserted the 8 were never set to be executed, saying that Trump misled once again with fake news. Do y'all hear it? Do y'all hear it? Okay, please pay attention. The lies just keep continuing. And this is from Sky News Australia. See, I told you. I told you, because how do you go from being killed to being set free, and then the other ones just get a month in jail? Like, sit down somewhere, Trump, your lying self. Okay, now this is Sky News Australia showing Fox report.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. We've got some photos of them we'll put up on the screen here. They were scheduled to be executed today. The president, yesterday on Truth Social, appealed to the IRGC not to execute them. He has just posted this on Truth Social. Very good news. I've just been informed that the 8 women protesters who were going to be executed tonight will no longer be killed. 4 will be released immediately, and 4 will be sentenced to 1 month in prison. The president sees that as a goodwill gesture ahead of a potential resumption of negotiations.
Y'all see that? They were never set to be executed, arguing that Trump misled again with fake news. Some of them have been released, while others face charges that, if convictions are upheld, would at most result in imprisonment. According to a human rights group, at least one of the women, Vida Hamati, was said to be executed after throwing objects at Iranian forces. Norway-based Iran Human Rights Organization claimed 2 women, Galans and somebody, had been out on bail since March. Trump's post came only hours after following the extensions of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Trump's just a liar who lies, like, sit down somewhere. Okay, I knew he was full of crap. I knew he was lying as per usual. Now, here's another report. Iran mocks Trump's women execution claim amid ceasefire. And this is from First Post. Okay, let's get into it.
No. Iran has one.
And you know it's all cap because why would Iran listen to Trump? Why would they ever listen to Trump and do anything because he asked them to? Please sit down somewhere, okay? Just lying for the H of it.
Once again mocks US President Donald Trump. From viral AI videos to sharp official denials, Tehran is turning this into both a diplomatic and digital showdown. An AI-generated video now going viral shows a caricature of Trump waiting alone at a negotiating table, frustrated, ignored, and eventually told to shut up. But beyond the mockery, there is a serious dispute unfolding. Trump has claimed that Iran agreed to stop the execution of 8 women protesters after his intervention. He called it a diplomatic success, saying 4 women would be freed and 4 would receive short prison terms instead. He described it as very good news and thanked Iran's leadership for respecting his request.
I very much appreciate that Iran and its leaders respected my request as President of the United States and terminated the planned execution.
But, and it's a big but, Iran has completely rejected this claim. What we have is a clear collision of narratives. On one side, Donald Trump claiming a humanitarian breakthrough. On the other, Iran calling it completely false. Iranian officials say there were never any plans to execute 8 women. They have accused Trump of spreading false information and trying to create a fake political victory.
Trump's empty-handedness in the battlefield has pushed him towards fabricating achievements from false news.
And Iran's judiciary-linked news agency also claims that Trump is trying to present a win at a time when he is under pressure over the ongoing tensions with Iran. Iranian state media claims that some of the women mentioned were earlier released, while others may face legal cases that could result in prison time, but not the death penalty.
Okay. They said it's a war of words. Okay, Trump just lies. Why does he do it? Okay, why does he have to just sit there and make up stuff? Like, make it all make sense. Can anyone please? D Major says, oh, please. Meanwhile, we have the death penalty in this country. The Republican Party, the party that so-called values life, supports the death penalty here in the USA. Exactly. Okay, let's not forget that they executed a 14-year-old black child for something he didn't even do, only to exonerate him about 70 or 80 years later. Okay, please pay attention. Please pay attention. Oh, crazy. Queen, that clip you showed the other day reminded me of the scene from the movie Manchurian Candidate. The snippet Trump put up, then took it down quickly. Oh, when that lady was dripping blood on him, yeah, that was really weird. Okay, that was really weird. Anywho, let's continue, beloveds. I'm going to pull this clip back up. Okay, Ashkan said pro-life just up until birth. Exactly.
To the digital space. An AI-generated video mocking Donald Trump has gone viral, particularly in Iran. The video is a fictional version of Trump waiting for Iranian negotiators who never arrive. In the video, the AI version of Trump first appears confident about talks, but gradually becomes frustrated as time passes. The clip uses humor and internet meme format to portray the US president as impatient and unsuccessful in getting Iran to the negotiating table. And this is not the first time Iran has mocked Donald Trump. In fact, it has become a pattern. Since the start of this conflict, Iran's digital ecosystem has consistently targeted Trump with AI-generated content, from Lego-style cartoons to viral memes, turning him into a central figure of ridicule online. Iran's mockery of Donald Trump is not just about humor, it is a signal that in the digital age, the conflict is as much about narrative control as it is military power.
It absolutely is. Okay, so now let's go to this next clip with this clip I wanted to show you all with Rachel Maddow when she said it was a reality show presidency. Okay, let me share my screen. This is all so sad and pathetic. Like, Trump has really got the U.S. looking down bad. Okay, make it all make sense.
Gregory Bovino,
the little guy who lives in a shoe, who was inexplicably promoted well beyond his job title to lead Donald Trump's chaotic, violent, trigger-happy, inept paramilitary invasions of multiple U.S. cities. They got rid of him. Then they got rid of Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security. Also, technically, they also got rid, at the same time, they got rid of the guy who didn't formally work for the Department of Homeland Security, but nevertheless, he was there every day and at all of her events, sitting or standing right next to her. And he was definitely not her boyfriend, because she is super happily married. Then, of course, we immediately got some quite unexpected news about that aforementioned marriage. And then we got the multi-million-dollar luxury private jet that she and her not boyfriend procured with taxpayer funds for what they said would be high-profile deportations. The private jet with the bar and the queen-size bed. Then we learned that the Homeland Security Department would not be keeping that jet after all. The White House instead would be taking it, and now it was going to be used by other cabinet members and also, for some reason, by Melania Trump. Investigations into the not boyfriend of Kristi Noem demanding payments from companies with Homeland Security contracts reportedly continue. The not boyfriend, of course, denies all wrongdoing. But then they got rid of the Attorney General. She only barely made it a year. In that time, she did reduce the U.S. Department of Justice to a smoking hulk. But apparently she was just getting started when they got rid of her. She had just moved into some general's house. Because the true mark of making it in the upper echelons of this administration is that you're allowed to essentially loot from the U.S. military. You're allowed to just take over military housing for yourself because, hey, some of it's quite nice. But right after she got moved into some general's house, Attorney General Pam Bondi was out. Then they got rid of the director of ICE, following reports that he had had to be hospitalized not once but twice since taking the job because of stress. Plus another incident in which his security detail reportedly retrieved a portable defibrillator from a nearby office because he was freaking out so hard they were sure they were going to have to shock him.
Do y'all hear it? Do you all hear this bullshit? So let me get this straight. Okay, like the Hormuz. So visibly upset and struggling. Say what now? Acting ICE head hospitalized twice over stress. One of his bodyguards took a portable defibrillator from a near government office. Is he on medical leave at this point? Do y'all hear this BS? And he said he was clearly pressed. D Major played the violin. Got an absolute nuts. Y'all are so low down. Oh my goodness. Ashkan says this is time for sure. It's time for a vacation if you need a goddamn portable defibrillator. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely pathetic. What are we doing here? Leon said all of them need a medical leave, but let's continue. This is all
Last week, the head of ICE, Todd Lyons, found himself unable to answer basic questions from Democratic Congresswoman Lauren Underwood of Illinois as she pressed him on why so many people have been dying in ICE custody. He could not answer her basic questions about those deaths, even basic questions about why those deaths weren't being investigated.
Oh my God.
And then as soon as that, I'm sure, very stressful hearing was over, we learned that he's out too. He has resigned and he will be gone next month. Well, now today, another one down. The Secretary of Labor is out. And where do you want to start with this one? In January, the New York Post was first to report on a complaint about Trump's labor secretary that had been made to the department's inspector general. And I got to tell you, the New York Post has since done a ton of groundbreaking reporting on this scandal at Trump's Labor Department. But because it's the New York Post, and I'm going to show you some of their reporting, I feel like I just have to mention at the outset that they do decide to decorate much of their reporting on this scandal with photos of Trump's labor secretary in a bikini. Like, I mean, not every article, but a lot of their articles about this just randomly have pictures of her in a bikini. And that's just kind of the business model over there. But the reporting is what it is. Trump's labor secretary, Lori Chavez DeRemer, faced allegations of drinking in the office during the workday and of taking staff members to strip clubs and of taking personal trips at taxpayer expense. She was.
Now, do you guys hear this? So this is what they're all being accused of doing: drinking alcohol, partying at strip clubs. This is the administration that's running the country. So first we had Kash Patel, who's known to be a lush, and then Kash Patel, and now the labor secretary, Lori Chavez. Do y'all hear it? Taking staff members to strip clubs. When do they have time for any of this? When everyone's at war. Please pay attention. It's all crazy. But let's continue.
Accused of pursuing a sexual relationship with a member of her security detail. That member of her security detail was then put on leave. Then he resigned. Then her chief of staff was forced out. Then her deputy chief of staff was forced out. Then her director of advance was forced out. Then we learned that her husband, hey, there's a husband, he was banned from going inside the Labor Department's headquarters building. That ban on him entering the building came after 2 Labor Department staff members accused him, the secretary's husband, of sexually assaulting them at the Labor Department headquarters building. The husband denies wrongdoing, but then the hits just kept coming.
What you doing now? Well, let me get this straight. So you have Kash Patel, who was alleged to have brought his wife into private meetings where she does not have a security pass to be at, listening to private information that clearly is none of her business. Now you have the labor secretary's husband coming in and being accused of assaulting people. So let me get this straight. You know, Ashkan, you made a very good point. Ashkan said this has probably always been the case, but they're just stupid enough not to hide it. You know, I believe you're right, because as I recall, some years ago, there was a story about the Secret Service doing something like this, partying it up and having drinks or whatnot, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just all so crazy. This whole administration has gone amok, okay? Pensy Lola says, shalom, beloved. Thank you, beloved, and shalom to you. And thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Honey, this is all nefarious.
Last week, the New York Times was first to report on Trump's labor secretary allegedly sending text messages to her employees during the workday, telling them to bring her wine. The Times says it has reviewed the messages and that they're part of an inspector general investigation. We here at MS Now have not reviewed the messages and have not independently confirmed this reporting. But this is what the Times says, quote, in one text message, Ms. Chavez DeRemer asked a staff member to bring rosé to her hotel room. The messages are undated, but a picture of the menu in the text message exchange suggests it comes from a hotel bar in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where the labor secretary went on an official visit last July. She asked, quote, do they sell by the bottle? And it wasn't just the wine, the alleged day drinking, and having Labor Department employees bring her wine for day drinking. This is also from the Times, quote, Ms. Chavez DeRemer's husband and father exchanged text messages with young female staff members at the Labor Department. Some of the young women were instructed by the Labor Secretary herself to, quote, pay attention, to her husband and father. And
what? Do y'all hear this? What in the indecent proposal is going on here? It's all nefarious, okay? All nefarious. But hold on, let me just remind you all that yes, I was right about the Secret Service. Here it is. It's from 2012. Now listen to this. In 2012, 13 Secret Service employees and several U.S. military members were involved in a massive prostitution and booze-fueled scandal in Cartagena, Colombia, ahead of President Obama's trip to the Summit of the Americas. Over a dozen agents and personnel were sent home, faced disciplinary actions, and had security clearances revoked. Okay, President Obama wasn't playing any games. Now, they say witnesses reported that the group, which was part of the advanced security team, had engaged in heavy drinking at a local club called the Play Club, Pley, or the Plea Club, prior to bringing women to the hotel. Ultimately, 10 Secret Service agents lost their jobs. The scandal prompted in the words of Washington, new investigation into the agency's culture, prompting the appointment of Julia Pearson as the first female director to lead. Well, I'll just spit over. Isn't that something? I remember hearing that story. I definitely do. Obama fired all their arsons, at least 10 of them. Okay, Trump's not going to fire him, though, because he's down with it. I mean, he was at those, on that Epstein Island.
An April 2025 exchange provided to investigators, Ms. Chavez de Remer's father wrote to a young female Labor Department staff member, quote, "Hearing you are in town, wishing you would let me know. I could have made some excuses to get out and show you around. Please keep this private."
Hell no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, no, no. And did y'all hear how Rachel was reading it? Not her father. Haven't they no shame, beloveds? But let's continue. It's all sad. So sister said, let them eat lobsters. This is something else. I can't believe my ears.
The young female Labor Department staff member responded, quote, "Will do. No need to worry." She apologized to him for not reaching out. He responded, quote, "When are you leaving and where are you staying?" This is the Labor Secretary's father. She allegedly told her young female staffers that they needed to, quote, "pay attention to him."
My goodness.
When are you leaving and where are you staying?
Sounds like they're pimping these women out, talking about pay attention to her husband and her father. Do y'all hear it? Nene said, I thought they were Christians. Honey, clearly not. Clearly they've fallen far from the cloth. Okay, let's continue.
3 Labor Department staff members have filed civil rights complaints against Trump's labor secretary and the department, describing a hostile work environment. But now Trump's labor secretary is out, too. As of tonight, Trump labor secretary Lori Chavez de Remer is out of her job. Her lawyer told us here at MS Now tonight, quote, "Secretary Chavez de Remer did not resign due to findings that she violated the law. Her decision to leave office was personal."
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is
Personally, I think it's got a sting that I don't think they ever gave her a general's house. I mean, not like everybody else in the cabinet. I don't think she ever got one. Not even like an admiral's house. But now she's out as well. That said, the FBI director still has his job. The deputy director of the FBI, the podcaster guy, they got rid of him, but the other podcaster guy is still there in the director's job after learning about Director Kash Patel assigning the FBI SWAT team to be personal bodyguards for his girlfriend. After Director Kash Patel flew the FBI private jet to the Olympics so the taxpayers could pay for him to go to Italy and chug beer in the hockey team's locker room. FBI Director Kash Patel has now filed a lawsuit and a demand for $250 million against The Atlantic magazine, following The Atlantic reporting this weekend on what reporter Sarah Fitzpatrick described as his, quote, "conspicuous inebriation." Quote, "Several officials told me that Patel's drinking has been a recurring source of concern across the government. They said he is known to drink to the point of obvious intoxication, in many cases at the private club Ned's in Washington, D.C., while in the presence of White House and other administration staff. Patel is also known to drink to excess at the Poodle Room in Las Vegas, where he frequently spends parts of his weekends. Early in his tenure, meetings and briefings had to be rescheduled for later in the day as a result of his alcohol-fueled nights, said 6 current and former officials and others familiar with Patel's schedule. Quote, on multiple occasions in the past year, members of Patel's security detail had difficulty waking him because he was seemingly intoxicated, according to information supplied to Justice Department and White House officials. A request for breaching equipment, normally used by SWAT and hostage rescue teams to quickly gain entry into buildings, was made last year because Director Kash Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with the request. Some of Patel's colleagues at the FBI worry his personal behavior has become a threat to public safety. FBI.
Wait a second here. So you mean to tell me they had to enter the room like SWAT? Because he was in there so drunk. Do y'all hear this? This is absolutely egregious. Okay, he needs to be fired immediately.
Officials and others in the administration have privately questioned whether alcohol played a role, for example, in the multiple instances in which Patel has shared inaccurate information with the public about active law enforcement investigations, including following the murder of Charlie Kirk. The Atlantic says its reporter spoke with more than 24 sources for this story. MS Now has not independently verified these allegations. Mr. Patel has denied all wrongdoing. He's now suing The Atlantic over this story, calling it malicious and defamatory. But for now, at least, he remains in his job at the FBI, with the speculative odds on how quickly podcaster Kash Patel might be fired from that job hinging somewhat on the question of how much alcohol remains in the news about Trump's FBI director, since President Donald Trump is somewhat famously averse to drunkenness. Hey, Pete Hegseth, still on the job as defense secretary as the supposed ceasefire in Iran comes to an end.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, the tenure of the worst Secretary of Homeland Security since the agency was formed has come to an end in spectacular and humiliating fashion. Kristi Noem, and we assume her special government friend, Corey Lewandowski, are out. Fired today on Truth Social by Donald Trump, quote, the current Secretary, Kristi Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the
right, what did they do wrong? And I think that in this instance, that is going to be going straight for the capillaries.
Okay, I'm moving on. That was absolutely hilarious. You know, listen, I will say one thing. Pensacola says, don't be scared now, okay? And Kash Patel, you see, this is how you know that everything they're saying about him is likely true, his staffers and all of that, his security team. It's because, for one, you know, why is it that he was so afraid that he was going to be fired? Remember when he went in and they said he was locked out of the computer for whatever reason? He clearly panicked and thought that he had been fired. So why would you think that, Patel, if you were really doing your job? Well, because he's likely been drunk, just like they say. But now, mind you, even though he was suing the Atlantic, or he's suing them for $250 million, he also filed another lawsuit for defamation, but the judge tossed it and basically called it stupid. Okay? Judge tosses Kash Patel's defamation suit against former MSNBC contributor. The judge said that Frank Figliuzzi's statement, when taken in context, cannot be perceived by an ordinary person or an ordinary person of intelligence as stating actual facts about Patel. And so this is why he was suing, because the man cracked a joke, basically. Okay, so here's what they say. Patel had sued Figliuzzi over comments he made on Morning Joe about the FBI director's evening activities. He said, yeah, well, reportedly, he's been visible in nightclubs far more than he's been seen on the 7th floor of the Hoover building. So that's what he said in a show last year. So, I mean, it's obvious to me that people have known about his partying and likely his drinking habits. Now, Figliuzzi's attorneys argued that this comment was a sarcastic, hyperbolic remark that receives protection from defamation liability. So U.S. District Judge George Hanks Jr. agreed, writing that Figliuzzi's statement, when taken in context, cannot be perceived by a person of ordinary intelligence as stating actual facts about Patel, saying a person of reasonable intelligence and learning would not have taken this statement literally. That Director Patel has actually spent more hours physically in a nightclub than he has spent physically in his office building, the judge added. The judge said that since he believes the statement constitutes rhetorical hyperbole, it cannot be defamation. Now, Mark Fuller, Figliuzzi's lawyer, hailed the decision as a victory for freedom of the press and the First Amendment. The judge, however, denied Figliuzzi's request for attorney's fees and other costs. So MSNBC is now known as MS Now, which continues to air Morning Joe. The cable channel rebranded amid a spinoff from Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, the parent company of NBC News. So the ruling came 2 days after Patel filed a separate defamation lawsuit against the Atlantic magazine over a story it published last week that alleged he drinks to excess and has had unexplained absences at the Bureau. So let me say this. First of all, Patel is so stupid because he filed that lawsuit against Atlantic as soon as that story came out. Well, here's the thing. I've told you all before that you have to have four different things to prove defamation, 4 different elements. Okay. And how could he have proven any of those so quickly? Okay. Because he literally filed it, as soon as it came out, which to me implies guilt. You obviously are guilty of something, because why are you so stressed and pressed? Had you not done anything? First of all, it has to be a statement of it has to be a false statement. Okay, you have to prove that what the person said was presented as a fact, not an opinion, but was absolutely false. The second thing is that it was published to a third party, which it was because everybody saw it. It was reported in the news. Okay, and then you have to basically prove that the statement reasonably referred to the plaintiff, which we know that it did, but you also have to prove intention, that the person was doing something malicious and that it caused you some form of harm, like you lost something, money, your reputation was sullied. But here's the thing, he already has a terrible reputation, so that dog is not going to hunt. Okay, that was going to get dismissed as well. Now he's filing these frivolous, baseless, unfounded lawsuits because that's what Trump does when he wants to silence his critics. But also of note, I think it's important to tell you all that remember the journalist who spoke about Kash Patel's girlfriend? Well, they started an investigation. Tried to conduct an investigation into him. All right, ex-FBI official shreds Kash Patel's notion that he didn't know about New York Times probe. Let's go to the clip. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Honey, they have too much going on. Okay, they had too much going on, and none of it is any good.
Statement saying that Patel's girlfriend required SWAT protection because, quote, as a direct result of her relationship with Director Patel, she's facing more than a dozen active threats, death threats. According to the New York Times, as a result of the article, the FBI began investigating whether the reporter crossed the line into stalking and even went so far as to comb through bureau databases for any potential information on her that would warrant further investigation. The reporter allegedly contacted the subject of the story, Patel's girlfriend, and they had one off-the-record phone call and exchanged emails but never met in person. The reporter also spoke with numerous other people who worked with or knew her, which is all standard practice for thorough reporting. The person briefed on the matter tells the Times DOJ officials ultimately determined there was no legal basis to proceed. I want to get some perspective now from former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Does it make sense to you that the FBI director's girlfriend would be given extensive protection in the first place, or that the Bureau would investigate the New York Times writer who reported on it?
Well, neither of those things make sense to me. It's not, this is something I've never seen happen before, where somebody other than the protectee, and in this case, the protectee, of course, is the director of the FBI, receives a security detail. I can tell you when I was the acting director of the FBI, I had the detail for that 3-month period, and they did not protect my wife or my children. If they were traveling with me, they could get into the car that I was driven around in, but when they went about their business and my wife went to work every day, the detail didn't do anything for her. That's standard procedure. I don't know how today's FBI and Kash Patel's office specifically rationalizes doing this. It seems like it's probably contrary to federal regulations. But in terms of the reporter's activity, Anderson, I worked under Eric Holder, and Eric Holder changed the DOJ's guidelines for conducting investigations involving media people and tightened them up significantly. And since that time, it's been the rule that you cannot conduct any investigative activity targeted at a journalist or a journalistic entity because of news gathering activity. So news gathering activity is absolutely off limits. And that, from reading this article, seems to me to be all that this reporter did.
Yeah, I mean, the question of a New York Times reporter stalking the subject of an article, it's pretty much inconceivable. I mean, it doesn't even pass the laugh test.
It's absurd. It's absurd. How many stalkers, contact their victim and they have a nice conversation that's off the record, and then they exchange emails with each other? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not stalking to contact someone when you're going to write an article.
Yeah, if as far as I'm concerned, the journalist didn't even have to contact her to let her know that that they were going to do a report on her. So this is just all more BS from the Trump administration, as per usual. Nothing should surprise us at this point. Okay, but now with that all being said, let's go to Kash Patel's hearing over the Epstein files from 2 days ago. This was posted with Adam Schiff, and he's sitting here just looking like a deer in the headlights. Hold on. There was just a report says Trump orders Navy to shoot and kill any boat laying mines. This came out 20 minutes ago. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this real quick.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said himself, there's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have again is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said, for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question.
And I said the information that 3 administrations have had access to have made determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm specifically stating
whether it's your testimony today.
You just read it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my testimony.
I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. And you can say whatever you want.
Let me ask you this.
The hearing took a volatile turn when Senator Adam Schiff confronted FBI Director Kash Patel over allegations of political retaliation and the long-shrouded Jeffrey Epstein files. What began as a standard oversight session rapidly devolved into a high-stakes.
Okay, I find it all so interesting. Kash Patel is just ridiculous. Okay, he's nothing but a liar who lies, just like Trump. Now let's talk about these scientists who are now deceased. 2 more of them. Okay, 2 more since last night when I reported about them to you all. So I'm going to share my screen.
Now to a story we've been following as well. High-profile American scientist vanishing, turning up dead. Well, this morning, yet another decorated scientist and defense researcher dead in a plane crash in South Carolina last week. Just found out about this. Investigators say James Moffett was flying his small personal plane. They were refueling. He was with his wife and 2 sons when that plane crashed near the Union County Airport, about 35 minutes south of Spartanburg. The family was traveling to their home in Huntsville, Alabama, to Raleigh when they stopped there. Now, Moffett was an aerospace engineer. He spent a lot of time as a career Army test pilot. He also worked as a flight crew support specialist for NASA, where he took part in 14 Space Shuttle ISS construction missions. He is now growing in this, or adding to this growing list. This is a photograph now, a picture of all those that have either turned up dead or missing since 2022, actually. Now, the White House taking this matter very seriously. They've launched an investigation. They're trying to figure out if these are linked together. Right now, they have not tied all these together at all. Jan, back to you.
The White House knows exactly what happened to these people. The White House knows exactly what's happening to these people, in my opinion. Okay, now that's just a darn shame. The man's name, he was 60 years old. His name is James Tony Moffett. He was a highly decorated Army veteran, okay, experimental test pilot and esteemed aerospace engineer who worked as a payload and flight crew support specialist at NASA's Johnson Space Center. He later founded Moffett Systems, Inc., and was a principal research engineer at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, tragically dying in an April 2026 plane crash. Alabama, Huntsville, just like Amy Eskridge, who I reported on yesterday. Okay, so that all been said, this man is now gone in a plane crash. I find that very interesting. So let's go to the next scientist. There's another scientist that is also deceased. Hold on, I must have deleted that accidentally. Hold on, beloveds, let me find it. Okay, here it is. This man was a nuclear engineer. His name is Joshua LeBlanc, and he was only, sadly, 29 years old. 29 years old, that's it. This is him right here on my thumbnail with the glasses. Okay, let's talk about it. Because according to the New York Post, they say NASA nuclear engineer found dead in burned Tesla after vanishing from his Alabama home last year. So a NASA nuclear scientist died after a fiery crash in a rural Alabama town last year, which at the time caused suspicion among family members. Joshua LeBlanc, age 29, died in the fiery crash in a Tesla July the 22nd of 2025. Now, the crash happened in Huntsville, Alabama. All of these are happening in Huntsville, and I want you to pay attention. That's because Huntsville is right in NASA's backyard, okay? It's right in NASA's backyard, and that's also where one of NASA's facilities are. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say the crash happened in Huntsville, Alabama, where his Tesla was found burned beyond recognition at about 2:45 in the afternoon. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency gave this information. Now, the vehicle collided with a guardrail that several trees before bursting into flames. At 4:32 a.m. on the same day, LeBlanc's family reported him missing. He uncharacteristically failed to show up at his job as an aerospace technologist electrical engineer at NASA, where he worked on nuclear propulsion projects. His body was also burned beyond recognition. This is absolutely so sad. This man burned to death in that Tesla, just like we've heard on several occasions. And I want you all to pay attention, because the fact that this man was in a Tesla gives me reason to pause. You all do know that they can do things remotely, right? You all do know that they can do things remotely, okay? So that man's plane crashing and this car crashing could absolutely have been done by nefarious means, not just mere accidents. Please pay attention. All right, so with that all being said, goes on to say that his body was burned beyond recognition, and police confirmed his identity 3 days later after his body was transported to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences. Now, at the time, his family told KLFY that they feared he had been abducted and that he had left his phone and wallet in his home at the time of his disappearance. That sounds like an abduction, because who's leaving without their phone and wallet? Where are you going? Now, police tracked LeBlanc down using the data from his Tesla Sentry mode and found that his vehicle sat at the airport in Huntsville for hours on the morning of his death. His family said his trip west was not part of his plan for the day, and that uncharacteristically, he was not communicating with them. Now, a LinkedIn page for LeBlanc says he worked at NASA for about 5.5 years, and that he was a team lead for NASA's Space Nuclear Propulsion, known as SNP, Instrumentation and Control, known as INC Maturation. So, NASA's SNP technology would enable faster and more robust transportation of crew and cargo missions to Mars and science missions to the outer solar system, according to the agency's government website. LeBlanc was later a team lead on NASA's demonstration rocket for agile cislunar operation known as Draco, a nuclear thermal propulsion engine. Now, at least 12 other people, the vast majority involved in nuclear science and space research, have died or gone missing since 2022, some under mysterious circumstances. So this is just all real crazy. What is going on here? Who's taking these people out and why? Now I'm going to share my screen. So here they are. Links between missing and dead officials. This is really something. There is something really wrong and nefarious going on here, people. Okay, this many people dead or missing is no coincidence. Who is targeting these people and taking them out? And let's not forget how several of these people before their passing stated that they would not self-delete. They also stated they were being threatened and harassed and that people were surveilling them. Now you have retired General William McNeil McCausland, who's still missing. Where is he? Okay, then you have Monica Reza, still missing. Anthony Chavez, still missing. Melissa Casillas, missing. And then the rest are dead. I don't know what is going on here, but this is just absolutely egregious. Okay, well, I mean, how many more are going to turn up? So anyway, with that all being said, let's go to Scott Bessent being questioned, okay, during a hearing. He's very arrogant, in my opinion. Very arrogant. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share.
Thank you for your work on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your recent conversations with folks in the government of the UAE. As I'm sure you probably know, President Trump and his family have done a very brisk business with the UAE over the last few years. There was the $500 million that Sheikh Tahnoon, the UAE's national security advisor and brother of the president.
Reggie, that's a good one. Okay, NASA stands for never a straight answer. Okay, that is a good one. And that's absolutely, we do never get answers from them. All right. I just hope we get to the bottom of it. I really think that they're involved, as well as the FBI and the CIA. That's just my opinion.
Invested in World Liberty Financial, which is the Trump family crypto venture, right before the president's inauguration. There was the $2 billion in World Liberty's stablecoin that Sheikh Tahnoon used to invest in Binance, a deal that effectively handed World Liberty $2 billion in cash at the same time that the United States government relaxed our export controls on high-end AI and chips to UAE companies. And now I understand that the UAE is looking for a swap line. The war in Iran has already cost us dearly. In my view, it's been a huge mistake, made us less safe and a lot worse off. In addition to lives lost, we're talking about over $1 billion a day in taxpayer money. We're talking about higher gas prices, higher prices overall. And now we understand that the UAE is asking you to provide them a swap line through the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Mr. Secretary, can you talk about this request and whether or not you expect to support it?
Senator, I would dispute much of what you earlier said and any linkages to this swap line. Many of our Gulf allies have requested swap lines. You would have just read about the UAE, and swap lines, whether it's from the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, are to maintain order in the dollar funding markets and to prevent the sale of the U.S. assets in a disorderly way. So the swap line would both benefit the UAE and the U.S. And as I said, numerous other countries, including some of our Asian allies, have also requested them.
Mr. Secretary, you said you disputed some of the facts that I presented. Do you dispute the fact that Sheikh Tahnoon, through his company, invested $500 million in World Liberty Financial just before the president was inaugurated? No, you contest that.
I'm unaware of that.
You're not aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I dispute your linkages.
Are you aware of the other transaction I mentioned? Essentially, the $2 billion. Seriously?
I'm not.
I mean, it's been so widely reported, Mr. Secretary, and been the subject of lots of questions. In fact, I believe I've asked you about this in the past. Let me go back to the issue of how funds are being used at the IRS, because part of the purpose for providing the IRS with some additional funds was specifically to go after very high-end individuals, taxpayers who are not paying their taxes, not paying what is due to the good of the country. And as a result of that, according to CBO, we're actually going to see deficits go up. So deadbeat rich people will get away not paying their taxes, deficits go up. But the direct file was intended to give sort of working people a little bit of relief, and it did save on average $160 and got very good reviews in terms of people's experience with it. It does go to the larger question of the IRS, which has lost 27,000 employees through actions such as RIFs, the Deferred Resignation Program, and early retirement. 27,000 employees left because of those actions, right?
Yes, sir, which there was quite a bit of bloat during the Biden years.
Really?
So we were just getting back to a more normalized level.
So, Mr. Secretary, you had to hire a lot of those people back, right?
We hired some people back in specific areas, not a lot of those, sir.
Yeah. But how much did it cost to both first let people go and then go back and have to rehire a bunch of them?
Again, it was not a bunch of them. And we have made very large gains in technology.
Are you aware of the fact that the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration released a report in January showing how the IRS service delivery has declined because of these changes? Have you seen that?
What I've seen, Senator. the Democrats said that the filing system was going to be a disaster. It's been a home run. And what you are nitpicking me on now is the difference between answering a call in 6 minutes and 9 minutes. And sir, let me tell you the way the calls used to work. That the IRS under the Biden administration would answer the call and a taxpayer in 6 minutes, and a taxpayer would be on hold for 20 or 30 minutes. Now, when the taxpayer's call gets answered, they get serviced right away. So it's a false equivalent.
Mr. Secretary, what you've done is provided a windfall to very wealthy people who don't.
Okay, first off, that's a lie. They don't answer the call right away. Okay, but also, how are they, not taxing the wealthy, but taxing the poor? Make it all make sense.
And then go back and have to rehire a bunch of them.
Again,
delivery has declined because of these changes. Have you seen that?
What I've seen, Senator, is that the Democrats said that the filing system was going to be a disaster. It's been a home run. And what you are nitpicking me on now is the difference between answering a call in 6 minutes and 9 minutes. And sir, let me tell you the way the calls used to work. That the IRS under the Biden administration would answer the call and a taxpayer in 6 minutes, and a taxpayer would be on hold for 20 or 30 minutes. Now, when the taxpayer's call gets answered, they get serviced right away. So it's a false equivalent.
Mr. Secretary, what you've done is provided a windfall to very wealthy people who don't pay their taxes.
Senator, why would I do that? Why would I do that? What is your theory of the case?
Because this.
What is your theory of the case?
Mr. Secretary,
Senator
Houston. No, because this
Senator's time has expired. Senator Houston.
Has time after time
Mr.
tilted the tax code in favor of very wealthy.
Senator Houston.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I am a big proponent of using technology to make our lives more efficient, improve customer service, get better outcomes, more compliance, all of those things. And certainly the IRS is a place that can happen. I can tell you when I was Secretary of State of Ohio, we did business filings and ran elections. And we took a paper process and turned it into a digital process and improved customer service. Forming a new business in Ohio used to take 4 days now, and then it took 4 hours. Over the course of 6 years with attrition and early retirements, we cut the size of the staff in half, reduced fees by 21%, and no longer needed any tax dollars to finance our agency. So I know firsthand how you can use technology to reduce headcount and improve outcomes. And government needs to do more of this. So thank you for your willingness to lead and put technology in place to do this. I know that in looking at your budget request at the IRS, that it is reduced, but you have seen the evidences, as you said in your testimony, that revenue is up 12%, even though the amount of expenditure was down. Okay, so I know from my experience and from your experience, we're seeing how technology can improve outcomes and improve customer service, compliance, and friendliness to the consumer. Can you give us a little more insight on how analytics and AI and new emerging technologies can do this at the IRS across, and maybe even suggest other areas in the government that we could do more work like this?
Well, we only have 5 minutes in terms of the other areas of the government. And Senator, I want to congratulate you because much of what you did in Iowa, I think Iowa is kind of a sleeper state.
Ohio. It's Ohio, but we're just one of those Midwestern
states. In Ohio, but the Ohio too is a sleeper state in terms of the manufacturing that is growing there. And what we are doing.
Men can't stop sending me their stick pics. Sporty deodorant sticks made with synthetic ingredients? Ugh, gross. The only stick your man should pick is this Dr. Squad.
Yeah, let's remember, of course,
Okay, let's go to Trump's lies real quick. And then I want to go to this segment where Jon Stewart dissects Trump art of the deal Iran strategy, which I found to be hilarious. Okay, likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
Beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
The U.S. will be gone or done with the war?
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. We totally control the Strait, just so you understand, for all the fake news out there. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. Nobody can be so stupid as to say that we want to have nuclear weapons and they have no cards. They have no cards whatsoever.
So if they do not give up that effort, is that the plan? Will you further destruct Iran?
Yeah, I will. If they don't give that plan up, yeah. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. They say if anybody protests, we're going to kill you in the streets. So I really think that's a big hurdle to climb for people that don't have weapons. We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I said, we were in there for 2 months. And you know what? We're going to have victory very shortly. Right.
I mean, it's just the lies for me. How long can you keep up the ruse? Okay, how long can they keep up the ruse? Make it all make sense, but hold on. Let's go to this video of this former sniper, what he has to say about what's going on here. Alice said Trump can't be real. Sadly, he is.
Right now is an Iranian drone destroying very expensive American equipment in Iraq. This right here is a Sentinel radar system. Boom, blows it up. Destroyed, dude. And this other drone, it's just flying around this base in Iraq looking for something expensive to blow up. Oh, shit. There's a helicopter. Boom, blew it up. But that radar dish cost $5 million. That Black Hawk helicopter cost $30 million. That drone that they used to blow them up only cost $500. That's a $1 to $70,000 ratio. So for every dollar that Iran spends, they destroyed $70,000 worth of our shit. To put it in perspective, if you go to the movies and it costs you like $20, that's the equivalent of a $1.5 million mansion or 2 Lamborghinis. Your choice. Oh, it's fucking, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Okay, all sad. And Trump wants us to think they're winning. Please sit down somewhere. Okay, so now, as I said, I'm going to Jimmy Stewart's video. I'm going to go to around the 17-minute mark. Hold on, I'm going to go to a couple of timestamps. Okay, let's stop it right there. Okay, so of course I'm going to have to put an overlay on this because Jimmy Stewart did not give me permission to use it. And also, Randa says Besant has a permanent, hold on. It says that Besant has a permanent Joker facial expression. He absolutely does, beloved, and he is not well spoken at all. He always sounds like he has a voice tremor, like he's nervous when he speaks, and he likely is nervous because he's probably lying every time he opens his mouth, just like Trump, just like Cake's breath, just like Kash Patel, okay, or small change Patel, shall I say? But thank you for insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Wait a second. Did he say Malcolm only fans? This man is something else. Let's continue. Hold on. Did I say Jimmy Stewart? Nene, thanks for correcting me. Why did I say Jimmy Stewart? Okay. The guy that played in It's a Wonderful Life. Okay. Okay, with that all being said, thanks for correcting me at the end of the day because, you know, my own moderator sometimes won't. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so y'all heard it. Like he said, Trump is just winging it. He has no plan. He never had one. He expected this to be done with so quickly. He thought it would be over with, within 3 to 4 days. Sadly, he was wrong. All right? Sadly, he was wrong. And so with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Listen, I will be back. Probably around 5 o'clock this evening. Okay, around 4:30 or 5. So if you don't get a notification, please check the channel. Okay, so Red Wine said a ball of confusion. Exactly. Okay, and so that have been said, listen, I hope you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got